Hello and welcome to the writer Albert Lanier channel. I, of course, am the writer Albert Lanier, here with another edition of Outro, the show about shows, the show that deals with shows that I have been on, currently am on, not quite going to be on. I just did a show today. I'm doing promotion, as anyone who's followed this channel may know. For I'm doing promotion for my piece on Substack, which is entitled "The Long Tentacles of the Octopus." It deals with a writer by the name of Danny Casolaro and the so-called octopus that he looked into, which was his name for this rather shadowy, murky, hidden, somewhat hidden group of intelligence operatives and other operators. And it's also the subject to some degree of the new Netflix docu-series American Conspiracy, The Octopus Murders. So less said about that in my view. But in any event, I just did uh, I just did an hour on the Ochelli Effect radio show. So I was live on the Ochelli Effect talking about my brand new piece, The Long Tentacles of the Octopus, which can be found, of course, at albertlanier.substack.com. So, again, doing promotion for the piece. I've been on the Ochelli Effect a number of times. I really enjoy being on the show. And it was different being on the show and talking about this subject. To begin with, I have actually discussed this subject before, about 3 or 4 times. I've been interviewed about 3 or 4 times about Casolaro, the octopus, and Inslaw affair with the Promise software. And if you've seen the docu-series, then you probably know what I'm talking about. You probably know precisely what I mean by that. If you don't, of course, I would advise you not only to read my article, The Long Tentacles of the Octopus, but also to read a previous piece I wrote for my blog, which is on medium.com. It's called Labyrinth, the Inslaw, and I think it's the Inslaw Affair and the Octopus. And you can go to medium.com/@thedoctor50 to read that. That's medium.com/@thedoctor50 if you're interested in that. I wrote that in 2020, that meaning my blog piece, Labyrinth. But I'm currently on tour, so to speak, doing promotion for my piece at Substack. And I'll be brutally honest, the reason that I wrote the piece, I wasn't looking to write about Casolaro again. Actually, I hadn't really written about Casolaro. That's one of the reasons why I wrote the piece, is I had never written about Danny. Now, one of the things that I make clear on this interview on the Ochelli Effect is I talk about, to a certain extent, my background with all of this. And you can listen to it there, but just to give you a little taste of it. I had first started researching and looking into um, the Inslaw affair and the Promise software and the Octopus back in 2010 or so. It might have been 2009, but my memory is a little hazy in that regard. I don't remember exact weeks or day and date as to when I did research, but I know that it was at least in 2010 because I was interviewed on a show called Medium Monarchy in March of 2010. In fact, March 5th, 2010. And so, if you're interested in that interview, that was the very first interview that I had. It was a 2.5 hour interview where I went through step by step, detail by detail, aspects of the death of Danny Casolaro, who's a writer who looked into the not only the Inslaw affair and Promise software, but also what he called the octopus, this sort of shadowy, I hate to use this term, but I'll use it anyway, cabal of operatives, former intelligence operatives and operators. And So I had looked into, I started looking into this as a result of finding out initially about it in the 90s. So I started looking into this in 2010. I had found out about this because of the TV show Unsolved Mysteries. I had actually seen the original Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack in the 90s. And I was told today when I was on the show, it came out in 93. So that's probably when I saw it. But I had seen a segment they had done on the death of Danny Casolaro. And that's when I found out all about Danny and the Octopus and Inslaw and Promise. I found all that out years ago. And it was still kind of in my mind. And when I had time away from my work as a freelance writer and as a journalist, one of the things I used to do was personal research project. If something interested me, I would go to the library or I'd go to the bookstore if possible, and I would go and look up books, borrow books, or buy books about whatever subject and read about it. I would read magazine articles, something I did in my spare time, did for years really. And so this aspect, Casolaro and the Octopus et al., was a personal research project of mine, of something I did on the side. Uh, Admittedly, wasn't part of my work. So I wasn't assigned to write about Casolaro. And in fact, once I looked into this, I really didn't want to write. I didn't want to go near this in terms of writing a book, writing pieces. I didn't write my blog piece about Inslaw and Octopus until 2020. That was 10 years after I'd been interviewed and I had done the research. So it took me a decade to decide, okay, to come to a point where I would write something about it. So it's not something that I wanted to get near or touch, really. Very dangerous, very dangerous. That's what I'll say. But in any event, I talk about that, and I talk a little about my background, and I do talk about the feedback that I've heard from other people about this Netflix docu series, and I probably will hear more. Now, just to state this on the record, because I want to be clear about this. Number one, I have not seen the docu series. Number two, I do not know what's in the docu series other than what people have told me. So people online, people I've talked to, they've told me, this is in it, that's not in it. That's that's the most that I know or don't know about it. But other than that, I don't know what's in the docu series. And number three, I have absolutely nothing to do with the docu series. I was not contacted, called, or talked to by the two individuals who were the filmmakers involved, nor the producers, nor Netflix. So, just to be clear, yes, I did research this subject more than a decade ago, back in at least 2010. And yes, I was interviewed about this back in 2010. No, I have absolutely nothing to do with the docu series that's on Netflix right now. I know nothing about it other than what people have told me and the feedback that people have told me. So I know absolutely nothing about that. What I know is what I've been informed about, and that's the most that I'm going to go, and that's all I can go into, or that's all I can say about it. That's it, because I don't have anything more. But the focus, of course, in my appearance was to promote my article, of course, The Long Tentacles of the Octopus, which can be found in my Substack, albertlanier.substack.com. And so it was a good appearance. It was a good interview. What I have to do these days is after I write an article, I've got to go on shows that'll promote it. Normally, I like to do about three because I don't do a lot of media every year. I'm not somebody who needs to go on a show, 20 shows or so. So, yeah. And so, yeah, it was a very good appearance. It was a good appearance. The podcast version should be out soon, I hope, and people can take a look at it or listen to it, I should say. And now, what I will say is this: unlike most episodes of Outro, what I'm going to do here is this. Now, if you're someone who has actually seen the Netflix. I have no intention of watching the Netflix docuseries American Conspiracy: The Octopus Murders. I have no intention of watching it. I don't know when I will watch it. I'm not looking to. But if you have seen it and the entire docuseries, and if you want to chime in with your view of it or your opinion of it, your criticism or your praise of it, you can leave comments below this video and this video only. This is only for people that have watched the docuseries American Conspiracy: The Octopus Murders. If you've seen it, if you want to chime in about it, if you want to talk about it, fine. My attitude toward it is I'm very open to people telling me about it, talking about it, expressing themselves about it. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Um, and so that I wanted to leave on that note. And that's it for another edition of Outro. Of course, the show about shows. Leaving you with this reminder that when it comes to outro, the show must go on. Bye, folks.